Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Coney, your Sherpa, and today we're on day 3 of this fabulous big art quest that's all fairy tale themed. This month we are painting Usha, and she's a goddess of the dawn. She's really fantastic. We've kind of like changed her up a lot, and we're taking her in sort of this really cool deer fantasy space. On the mic today is my husband John.
Hi guys.
He is going to be reading your questions and your comments in the live chat, making sure that I don't miss anything. He's also going to be tracking me with cameras so that if you're painting with me along at home, you can create this painting for your own wall, because that's the whole goal of this, is that you get to paint this for yourself. You have a collection of the most awesome epic fairy tale paintings by the end of the year that you could have. So we've had 2 before this. This is our 3rd installment. I think we're going to have 1 more to finish her up. I'm excited about today because we get all the fun around the face and hands and antlers and everything, which to me is uber duper exciting. I'm so into this. Oh, if you've never been here before, we teach acrylic painting live, as you can tell by the weird, crazy awkwardness that we do. And we explain it every single step of the way. This is probably one of our more advanced beginner courses.
Yes. But we're gonna be painting. And
just because some people have done all 700 paintings with us and they're ready for some new stuff is what's happened here.
This is exciting. No, everybody's ready to go.
Are we ready?
We're on what, part 3?
Part 3.
And we got the antlers in yesterday.
We're going to do a little, I think I want to focus a little bit on the face and the antlers today. And I'm just going to take the face and the antlers far. We're going to meet for about an hour. And we're going to work on this. You guys ready for part 2? No,
yes.
3 of face. Okay.
Part 3.
All right. So we did a base skin tone yesterday that was real deep. We're going to change up a little bit today when we mix this.
Okay.
I'm going to put out both some titanium white and zinc white. Now, listen, you can use any acrylic paint that you have. I just really like the brands of acrylic paint that mill their paint several times, that have a good customer service line, that don't get scarce on the pigment with you. It's really not about even expensive versus inexpensive paint as much as it's about like people that are kind of like really about their product.
Yeah.
When people are about their products, I'm about them. So that's what I'm doing. Look at this crazy cap I've got going here. Don't be like me.
That's
Clean your caps.
Yeah, that was operator error there.
Yeah, I am totally, this is not a failing of the product. This is a failing of the Sherpa. And it's throughout the house. It's like into toothpaste, pretty much any threaded anything. Nothing messes with me as much as a screw. Just that's my like Achilles heel right there. So I've got titanium white, zinc white. If you've never seen this before and you want to understand how they're different, this is how they're different. See how different these 2 pigments are?
Yeah.
These are not the same. This really tints it. It really puts a lot of opacity to it. This is very translucent and doesn't change it very much. Today I'm going to go more alizarin. Alizarin in my paint. Today, we're going to see how that works out. I may have to warm it up with something, but I'm going to go there. I'm going to put out some burnt umber, if I can open it. Oh, and I'll go back over the colors. The colors are in the description below, as is a link to the webpage where all this information is. As per suggested by a really awesome community member who said, hey, update these traceables at the end if you change it. I think that was Nikki. Nikki suggested that to me.
Yes, I think
She was like, I need an updated traceable. I'm like, okay, girl, we're going to do it. So I'm just putting out these colors that I think I'm going to be using in my skin tones to like, change that up. I think I like these 3. I may, to warm it up, if I remember to grab a little cad orange. These are all in your materials list. You can, of course, change up colors on these. All that happens is it just changes the chroma, right? Just changes the hue of the painting. As long as you get the values right, you're okay. Of course, I'm going to put out, this is the hardest gotten gloss glazing liquid ever in the universe.
It was earned.
That was earned with puppy dog eyes and begging.
They love your hairband there.
Oh, thank you. Got to be a unicorn every chance you get, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm going to start today I'm going to have my brush is going to be a number 2 Filbert short handle in my red handle line. If you want more information about those products, that's down below. Where's my palette knife? I'm going to mix my base skin tone with my palette knife. So I'm going to start out, I really love my orange and burnt umber. I do. I think they're pretty awesome together. Pretty amazing. And they make me super happy. So I've got those here. I might even put some glaze in there so it doesn't dry out on me so quick. Now I'm going to get right into my yellow here. My yellow ochre. Get this warm because she's in the sun, so we're going to have to warm this up a good bit, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right, so we're warming that up. And I think today we will put a little alizarin in here. There we go. Now I can mix this into the white to lighten it. I've got a nice 3 values here pretty easily. Plus my burnt umber.
Now Beverly was asking.
Hi, Beverly.
Is using mixing white the same as glazing? Well, mixing white and
Is
glazing
the same as zinc. It can be. For the purposes of what you're doing, it will always work. Zinc white is PW4 on the pigment color. So sometimes mixing white will actually say PW4. Sometimes it's actually a mix that they create. However, from my experience, mixing white, tinting white, and zinc white do essentially the same thing for the purposes of what you're doing, and you don't need to get more specific in that until much later in your art journey. And if you're in a really unusual series of situations, I can't imagine you being in, but if you were, then you will know you are. It's like being Neo. You'll know you're the one. You'll be like, I really need to know which shade of phthalo blue this is. It's very important for my current project. You'll know it's you.
Right. Now,
does that make sense?
It
Probably
does.
not.
It does. No, I think what she was asking, though, is can she use mixing white instead of glazing liquid in this?
No.
No.
No. Not the same. Glazing liquid, you could use golden open white.
And that would open the paint up.
That would open the paint up and slow down the drying time. And in paint products, you'd have to do a slow dry acrylic to even mimic. Glazing liquid allows you to glaze a very transparent coat, and it allows you to slow down the drying time. It's pretty cool stuff. All right, so I'm going to take my base skin tone and get my little glazing liquid into it that I've got here. See if I like it. And see, I've got some yellow here if I ever feel like I want to warm it up, right? And I've got my red here. So I can do little micro mixes pretty easily, but I want a fairly light tone. Actually, I might even bring a little bit over here and mix up a larger amount of light skin tone so that I can be coming from that a little bit easier.
Easy access to that.
Easy access to it. And then also see if I like the value and how it looks, because I may be like, oh, you know what? I feel like you need a little more yellow in there. And this is just, if you mix it up ahead and you get the shade that you want, then you're not having to like constantly micro mix back into some particular space, right? Like you do sometimes if you do. So now I'm going to load up that brush right there, and I'm going to get some glaze on there. The nice thing about the glazing liquid is it does allow you to blend over dried acrylic paint a bit. So if you need to create a softness in the area, it becomes much easier to do. And you can see already how that's softening this around her little forehead, right? And it just makes short work of a lot of stuff that's happening in skin tone. Now I can come add a little bit of my main master mix, my master skin tone mix. Sounds a little bad, but it is what you need to have.
For the painting. Relative
For
only,
the painting.
It's
This is
relative to the
only a
painting.
good idea in relationship to painting.
And it's only relative to one painting.
Just that one painting.
We're not talking about it for all paintings.
No.
Just this one.
I've noticed that a lot of things in art sound like really bad.
Yeah. You know, you have to be really careful about talking about, painting objects.
Yeah, all of it, really, all
and
the time.
How you describe things, because,
You never know.
you can easily be making multiple entendres happen.
All the time.
Yes.
All the time. So I'm loading a little of my burnt umber onto my brush. And right around her hairline, I'm going to add just a little bit of that darker value. and I'm just going to be talking about the shadow a bit, right? If I come along and load up a little bit. But see, I've got my skin tone mix on it, so, and then I'm glazing. That way I have that nice, soft, subtle effect as I'm coming around for all these areas that might have a little more shadow to them. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Adding that nice little bit of shadow. I really enjoy it. I'm going to pull some shadow up through here into these lovely ears. Now, once we get this base in, we've got to do her makeup, which is quite involved. I'm going to load up with my light color again. You can see how it's nice to have them all mixed out. I'm going to come to the inside of the eye and maybe up on the brow ridge. Maybe actually to the outside of this eye. Because where would the light hit, right? If it's hitting over here. So sometimes it's nice to know where your light is hitting, so you can highlight the correct things and not be worried about hitting the wrong stuff, right? We are broadening her nose and some of her features to enforce the deer quality that we have going on.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm just blending this out here. I may have to get my glasses on so I see it well. That's always important to be able to see your work. It's super helpful. So you can see the range I'm at in here.
Now, we were talking the end of last show that you've deviated from this reference photo quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
But we're using it as what it was intended to be, as a reference photo.
Right. So one of the great things when you get further along into art is eventually, see how I'm just glazing this over?
Glaze.
And it softens all those lines.
Sometimes I glaze over while watching you because this is just like, oh, ASMR
Yeah,
painting.
I'm sure it's the ASMR of it all and not just like, oh my gosh, my wife is on about this again.
I can mask all that, though, and be like, I'll just pretend to pay attention.
So I'm wanting to make sure that I have a light area here and to the outside of the edge of the eye, maybe a little inside here, onto the nose, especially over the ball of the nose, into the lip, into the chin, and into these cheekbones. And that's what I'm kind of working. We're really shading a ball. I know you feel like you're shading a face, but you're actually shading a ball. Now I can always get into my zinc, which is sort of entertaining, because it's very transparent. And if I get a little alizarin on here, look how that pinks it up, which I really rather like. And so I can lighten it and pink it up without adding a lot of pigment. And that's going to allow me to come here and maybe add a little blush right there. I might come and get a little more on my
Janet would
brush.
like to give you an art high five for being awesome.
Who did?
Janet.
Hi, Janet. Thank you for my art high five. I'll take it.
She came across you a couple weeks ago and is just completely addicted to you. And she's 100% behind your self-confidence sort of way of relating to things. And she's like, are you a
thank
Scorpio? Because she just loves your videos. She thinks it's crazy.
Well, thank you so much. That's just making my morning. Thank you. That is very sweet.
And there are many Sherpacorns among us. I see them. They are Sherpacorning in agreement.
Oh, they're amazing. And we had a lot of Sherpacorns, at our event recently.
We did. Oh my God.
Always be a unicorn if you can. Always be yourself unless you can be a unicorn, and then go for that unicorn position.
We had some very fancy unicorns.
So you can see how I'm blushing across this nose area here. This is not dissimilar to what you might have to do in your makeup routine.
Yes.
if you were to wear makeup.
I'm not a very makeup kind of person.
No, I agree. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just throw out, if I remember to grab it, a little of my Prussian blue and my burnt umber. I'm going to put the Prussian blue out, and this is because in the whites of an eye, and if you've painted with me for a while, you've heard this a lot, but if you haven't, this might be kind of a new idea, is that I don't like to do bright whites. I like to do sort of like an off-white in shadow. So you see how I'm mixing this Prussian blue and this burnt umber together, kind of on a one-on-one. I'm like loading my brush up, flipping it around. And then I can come over here to my, let me get some glazing meaning because everything dries in my studio real fast. Look, I've made my palette color. You can't even see it anymore. But what I'm doing is I'm creating this little gray color. So when I come to the eyes, right?
And you're using a little tiny...
I'm using a number 2 filbert on a short handle. Now there are no standard sizes in brushes, so from one brush line to another, the numbers don't really relate to a particular brush width or size, but sometimes within a certain line of brushes inside a certain manufacturer they will. So in general, short handles have smaller ferrules and filaments.
Mm.
That's not universal, that's a generalization. So see how we're just kind of doing the gray right here?
Yes.
This is really going to help us later when we put in her eyes. I'm going to rinse out a bit. I'm going to get some of my base skin tone and my glaze. And I'm going to come around the mouth again a little bit just to make sure that this is well painted in and thought out. Right, as we go. I may have to add some shadows in here, but right now I'm just trying to make sure that her skin tone looks like skin before I start putting in the deer patterning. Because if I miss that part, then it's going to be really hard to get the rest of it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to get the rest of it.
Actually, we have a lot of Sherpettes who went to MadeItCon who stopped by.
Oh, hey, MadeItCon Sherpettes. It is awesome to be seeing you.
Yeah, I see Amy and her daughter went straight home. They were just saying in chat, they went straight home from MadeItCon, got easel. They went to Michael's, bought easels, paint, whole works, came home, started painting.
Awesome.
So we enjoyed spending time with you guys. Thank you for coming. I saw Stephanie here, and I think Fancy Nancy's in here. I saw a lot, and Nikki's here. Yep. There are a lot of folks here who came to the event. So.
I was amazed at how many people traveled. I really was. Because I barely traveled.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't travel well. I'm shading the outside edge of this with my dark skin value. Can you guys see this? Mm-hmm. I'm shading this out.
We can see it in HD.
In HD. I never know how clear any of the stuff actually is, but I'm just trying to shade this out.
This is YouTube. I never know how clear this is going to be.
And then I'm going to get right into my darkest skin tone. You can even, if you need to make it even more in shadow, add a bit of that Prussian blue to it, which is interesting. Because what we want to do is catch the shadow under the chin. So I can cool that down because it is not a reflected light shadow, it's a cast shadow, so it'll be a little bit cooler. And I'm going to just shade that a bit around the hair. A bit, as you do.
Nikki and Karen came back from their desert huts.
In Canada?
Up in Canada.
The desert area of Canada? Yeah.
The great northern deserts of Ontario?
Yeah, just I'm still
where they live in
tripping
huts
on that.
In the desert.
In the desert.
Although there are longhorn out there.
That's true. Well, they have a rodeo too.
I know. Which is, when you come from Texas and we make jokes about, picante from New York City, it's funny to think of a rodeo in Canada.
No.
Not that you guys aren't absolutely
Don't
tough
be
as
starting
nails.
nothing with them. They're actually okay at their rodeo stuff. I'm just saying. I'm making a lighter color here while you start trouble with our northern brothers and sisters.
Well, yes, we do. We absolutely want to start trouble, but that's, we're not legitimately talking smack. We know you have good rodeos. We've been there.
You're so funny. Hey, let's create an international incident today. We'd finally make the news.
Yeah, because we talked smack about rodeo riding on an art show.
Yeah, it could do it. Today's climate,
sure.
It could just all go wrong over that. You just don't know.
Next Sherpa, next MadeItCon, we're going to have a mechanical bull throwdown, right?
Yeah,
that's what
I'm thinking.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to shade the neck, like you do, right? And we're just going to keep pushing this. If you did the flower elf with me, you're kind of familiar with this back and forth process, where we're softening things, like I'm just glazing and softening. And that is what I find to be super enjoyable about acrylic, is my ability to come in and just keep, thinking it out.
I have to say that some of the other Canadian friends are reminding me that there are northern deserts in Ontario, all over Canada, but they are tundra. They're wintry deserts, not sandy,
I think the lady was referring to Sandy Desert.
she was
I
referring-
do. I choose to believe that. Maybe I'm being judgmental. I don't know. I'm going to get a little of my alizarin crimson on here again into my zinc with my skin tone. Right? And get it quite light because we're going to come here on these fingers to the knuckle and just make sure that we've got a very kind of almost pinked finger. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to work here, so we'll be at it for a second. You know, I'm going to get my base skin tone on and some glaze.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Like I do.
I don't.
Hopefully
do this.
they do.
Like you in the audience do.
And I'm going to, you know, highlight this part of the hand right here. You've got your reference, and what's nice about your reference showing you the lighting is that you're not having to guess where your light source is. Right? That's why you use a reference photo on a fantasy piece, is that you're making sure that your textures, that the things that you are thinking are true, are in fact true. And you can see how with the glaze, when I come back with the skin tone over it, it's still that dark value is there, still shading it, but it's a little more blended in. Now sometimes I might come with a little bit of my yellow ochre into this and my white. And even maybe a little bit more. And if I have to, I'll get my Indian yellow in there. We're just going to make sure that there's this warmth to the outer edge of the hand. Just warming it up. If we've got to create a little shadow value, I'm going to get my burnt umber and my Prussian. I haven't rinsed off my skin tone. And that's going to give me a nice shadow value. See that great shadow value? I can come to under my nose with that. And down into my lip. Like here. I can make sure that I'm coming under this part of my lip a bit, and even under here. And I find it's nice to have a little bit under the eye. See how we're doing? Just making sure that we've got this nice little sense of shadow. So when I get down into my hands, you know, we have a pretty uniform thought here. Little shadow between the fingers and the hand underneath it. We definitely want to have that hand casting a shadow, right? And then let's work between the fingers. Her fingers I've made a little longer, and her eyes I've made a little bigger.
And that's to impart the doughiness of them?
Yes, the inhumanness of it, because she is, you know, slightly humanized here to make her feel a little magical, a little special, a little more. We've got to...
She's the nice version of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I have no idea how that would relate, but okay.
Oh, they're anthropomorphized.
She's a
turtles.
magic being, and they were a toxic spill experiment.
Mistake. Where they studied with Splinter, their, you know, master, trapped under underneath the streets of New York until they were able to emerge as superheroes to help fight. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop.
You
now.
have some feelings about that
I
still?
do. I read the comic book.
I know you did.
My uncle corrupted me at a very young age. It's all his fault. The original comic book.
Is that what happened to the seminary? Was it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
It was all him.
So I'm just making sure that the shadow is there, but I want to have a little highlight. I'm going to come here and I want to make sure that this arm is tapered the way I intend. Right, so we're just blending this along. And that's what we're doing. Like, where's, you know, this is a tube. We're highlighting and shadowing the tube that you do. I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to put out some Indian yellow. This is going to be real fun. And I may, I'm going to show you how to fluid out your burnt sienna and your burnt umber, but we may, here, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take the Indian yellow. For the henna, we're going to definitely do the henna. That isn't gone. See how I'm adding this really bright yellow to the skin tone?
See, I really like henna.
Yeah. Everybody will really like henna. So see, this is where I'm getting this light. And I'm going to make sure that the hand has some of this light on it. Maybe like at the wrist.
And you're putting the lighting and the reflection on before you put the henna on.
Oh yeah, all of the lighting and shading has to be on before the makeup goes on, before any of it goes on. So I'm just making sure that I've got a little highlight to the arm here that feels like there's a little bit of sunlight. See how we're kissing that with a little bit of sunlight?
Yeah.
I was going to do zinc, but I'm going to need to do my white just to have the opacity for it to show. And come along here. And then maybe a little bit along the fingers. I go stroke, stop, stroke. Here at the top of the knuckles, where the light could hit it, maybe a little bit in the thumb. And then definitely a little bit coming down the arm. There we go. I'm going to grab a little of this and make sure that there's just maybe a little bit of this glow at her forehead. Tip of this ear. A little bit on her nose. Right, we're just catching a little of that light. We want to catch a little of that light. Super important to catch that light. So I'm going to get a little of my master skin tone for this painting only. And just make sure that I've got a nice shadow blending on the hand. That's what we're doing, is we're just blending nicely.
Blending, blending.
Blending, 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 blending. Shadowing along the arm here. Maybe a little half tone between these two colors. Just making sure we're all good. A little bit of this blue into my burnt umber. Skin tone mix into it.
Now this is interesting. Prakesha says that the painting on her hands is called Mendi.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's a particular pattern.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question will be, is this like, because I'm just not as informed on this as I could be.
Is this a...
Yeah, is this like a sacred, like, holy, like, thing? Because I don't want to culturally appropriate anybody's, like...
Very good question. So, is this okay to generally use in a fanciful way?
Yes. Is that... I don't want to, like, mess with anybody.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to, you know...
That is not my deal.
Nope,
it's not my jam.
Didn't even know that, you know... Although that makes a whole lot of sense. Culturally, there's a lot of... I guess that's on her wedding. Typically, newlyweds get Mendi on their wedding day.
Okay.
Oh, so
well, could that work for Dawn? The beginning of something?
Yeah, this could be her wedding day.
Okay, cool. As long as we're good and she's good, I'm good.
That's just telling a bit about the story.
All right, cool. I'm cool with that. I'm making sure that I'm shading some of her nose here. coming in, adding shadows where I can to create shape on her face. Like you do. And now we're just blending that out. There we go. So we're just constantly like defining. And again, typically her nose would not be that wide.
Prakesha thinks you're just fine using that
Okay, cool.
For our fanciful.
All right, yeah, I just want to make sure
party.
because I try to be careful where.
Yeah, I think we're certainly not putting any ill will in this.
No.
She's celebrating her wedding day apparently. And that's why she's so happy with those big dewy eyes.
That's why. All right, so I'm going to add a little nail, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to get my skin tone with the pink on it, and I'm going to get white. See how I'm going to get this light color? It needs to be lighter than everything around it, but slightly pink. So when I come here and at the tip of the finger, I'm going to tap in a little nail. I'm going to tap in a little nail. Tap in a little nail. Tap in a little nail. Just a little bit, not too much. You go too much and then you're just doomed.
Ooh, interesting. So Prakesha says that yes, it's totally cool to use it in a fanciful way. She thinks, as much as we can. Any one person speak for the voice of millions.
Millions and millions of people.
Generally speaking, I think it's going to be
You
cool.
now represent everyone.
But
no pressure. I'm adding another shadow under the hand.
So she said an interesting fact, though. It's believed that the darker the color of the of Mendy, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, the more your husband loves you. So the darker that the henna is, the more your husband loves you.
Dude, that's it. Okay.
That's some cool things, huh?
I'll tell you what. You know your husband loves you if he does the dishes. Sorry.
I bet you that's a universal concept.
I was feeling that had to be
That's
true.
got to be.
The husband that takes care of the pregnancy cravings. Oh, look, I had some paint on my hand it got right here. That's okay, though. I'm going to be painting over that.
Okay.
That's a thing because I'm heavy-handed. All right, so hopefully we're happy with those hands right now. Let's look at this big, and I'm going to sip my coffee. All right, so we got some hands that we could put some henna on.
So Cecil added, he says, I think the idea of Mendy is as long as it's on your hands, you're not allowed to do housework as a newly married woman.
Dude, go get me a Mendy appointment.
Yeah.
Who's going?
Can
Mendy on my hands forever.
Wait, I'm stunt hands.
Seriously?
Can I get Mendy?
If you see this on my hands, you'll know what happened. Whoever can get to the appointment quicker, we're no more housework.
We're all like racing to get our henna.
Now I can, right? Because I'll mist all this, so it doesn't. I can add some extra water to my burnt umber. I might even put out a little burnt sienna, so it's a little more warm. Because henna tends to. I used to dye my hair with henna.
That's right.
And it tends to run a little warm. So I'm going to make sure that this does as well. So I'm just pulling this out. And my goal here is to make it pretty fluid. Right? But we've just learned the dark thing. So we got to make sure it's fairly dark. I don't know how dark is dark, though. My henna experience is low. It's very expensive at the Renaissance Festival. I always want to get it, but I never can. But that's probably not accurate henna. Accurate Mendy. That's probably Renaissance Mendy. I'm going to do what I can here to sort of duplicate this pattern. I've got a number. This is a number. There it is. No, I've washed number 1 detail brush. I may have to even get down to my 3/0. Actually, I might let's just go small now. So I'm going to load up on the tip of my brush where I've thinned it. You could just switch to fluid paint, and I'm going to do what I can to, sort of duplicate this pattern, right, that I've got here as carefully as I can. No, this should be a very chill part of your painting where you're like sort of making this. Let's make some little dots in here. I'm going to be editing the Mendy. Mostly because this is a very small space and I has to. I don't know if it's allowed or not, but I has to.
Yeah. So Cecile, you give me some phonetic spellings, man. It's tough because
How
there's-
wrong have we been?
I think Mendy's okay. We're doing okay. I think there's just there's all sorts of pronunciations for all sorts of names out there, and I'm not very good at it.
Can we just go Merkin?
Yep.
Merkin. It's like when I'm really awkward. Merkin!
That's true.
I'm sorry. Doing my best.
Now you're going to be doing. You could trace this design in if you were uncomfortable freehanding it like
goodness gracious. Yes, please, please. If you're uncomfortable freehanding something and you have a way to make it traceable, which this would be real easy because it's right there, so you could just use the pattern that you have and get it on your hand. And again, I'll include this pattern in the updated traceable that Nikki said that we should totally have. So everyone thank Nikki.
Yes, we should.
For the new updated traceable policy. So now what we'll be doing when we can is a traceable for when people are painting along with us so they can get started right away. And then as we change things or alter things, significantly, not minorly, significantly, like we have here, then we'll update a traceable.
Yeah, I think that I saw someone saying earlier, it may have been Cecile, that that they change those patterns at every wedding. I don't.
Oh, good, because I'll be doing that now.
So I think that they're unique for the wedding festival, but kind of have some basic variations. Oh, I'll try scrolling up. Yeah, this is really neat.
I'm really enjoying doing this, guys. So this is, oh, don't roll into the, look at that, man. It's all over my brush now.
I remember playing in the SCA. I remember seeing lots of the players out there doing henna Celtic.
I don't know that that's traditionally true.
No, it's not traditional. But you go up.
Maybe it is. It's hard to say.
I think that if you gave the Irish anything they could paint themselves with, they will. So.
Is that what happened to us?
Yeah, pretty much. So.
All right, so I'm just adding another one of these little things down here. I'm just trying to, sort of be inspired by what I'm seeing.
I come from an
This
Irish
is like a
Catholic family,
very
so.
strange Zen tangle that I've got going on here.
Yeah, it's actually, I think, is really chill. I like the I don't know how to describe it. The mandala kind of.
Oh yeah, very much.
I like those kinds of patterns and things, and this reminds me a lot of that.
Well, same end of the world, right?
It's true.
We all sort of influence each other, not just on YouTube, but globally as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very pretty flower.
All right. I feel pretty good about that. Let me look at that on the big screen. Oh, look! She has some Mendy!
Yay!
That we're now more educated about. See, this is why I'm so excited to travel. I really hope we get to do an event in India someday. I really do. So I'm just trying to imply that there is a duplicated event over here that we're seeing parts of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's an important thing, like, oh, well, we're over here, we're saying it's on both hands, and how it is on both hands is, I think, going to be super critical. So I'm flipping and reversing the image facing that way to imply that it's symmetrical on both hands, because I'm just assuming it would be, now that I recognize that I'm a little bit underinformed on the topic. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be artistically inspired by something. You know, sometimes like I might be worried about certain elements of what I do, but that's because I'm in people's homes in like 250 countries, and so I just do my best to be aware. But like in the privacy of your own home, be inspired by everything.
Yes.
There we go. So we've got that kind of happening on both hands, and we can see that, which is lovely. Well, I've got this here. I'm going to come over with my little Prussian, and I'm going to make a very dark color. I'm going to get right into the eyes now. And I'm going to make a dark shadow at the top of the lid. Now I'm going to come here. And we're going to do an interesting thing. We're going to tip this. See how I'm tipping that down? There's a reason for that. I'm going to come to this back edge out here, and I'm going to tip as well. Try to line those up so that they're there we go. I am going to get a little bit for right under this. So under the nose, let's make sure that we get quite dark. Now we're going to take a little bit down to the lip. I'm going to again come under here. Just right there. So that's the basis there. We need some dark in the ears right here. How are we doing on time? Are we going to get to do antlers
Really
today?
We're at 42 minutes.
Oh, we might just get makeup today and have to meet an extra day because, well, we'll see how it goes. The antlers are going to be so much fun.
And you have the
Maybe I could go a
background in still.
little longer.
Maybe we need another day. It's okay. We'll work it in there.
Okay. So here we're going to pull down this sort of dark shading around her face.
Yes.
So grab into your burnt umber. It's okay if you tint it a little bit with the Prussian. Right?
Now, Lynn was saying that she lost some likes in chat. She says she's missing some. So if everyone could help her find them.
What?
She was saying that she's missing like 80 likes. She can't find them. They're missing. So she was asking everybody in chat to try to help her find them.
To find her likes?
No, our likes, because we're missing 80 likes from this because we got like 300 people here and there's not 300
Oh,
likes.
boy, I am obtuse. So this here, where you're coming down to this point, you're going to want to make sure that it is centered a little bit on her doughy face. If you need to glaze, go ahead and glaze to blend this into her skin tone. Alright, so like some of you are singing cats in your head right now. That's okay. I understand.
Oh, Prakesha says that on her wedding day, she had a full wedding ceremony painted on her hands.
Did she?
Wow. So someone else was saying, I saw it scroll by, that it's very meditational. Meditative?
Lord knows you need a meditation before a wedding, right?
Boy, I'm not an English channel. I don't do that.
That's our friends. So see how we've darkened around her face here? Right? Now I'm going to get my zinc, and maybe even just a touch of my Indian yellow. But I'm going to get my zinc. Which this is not the original real color that came from India. Because nobody's up for harvesting mango leaf pea anymore.
That's true.
From a local water buffalo. Now I'm going to take these little dots, look at these, and I'm going to add these back here. These are like the little deer spots. See how we're doing?
No, I bet you back in India, there's somebody who's as hardcore about making henna as we are about making beer. And they're
you have to know, right?
There's some old school artisan henna makers.
There has to be. Do you guys see how I'm doing these little light dots with the transparent color at first? And we're going to definitely make sure that it comes around the cheeks. Right? And the reason we do the zinc first is so that when I come get my titanium white and put some here, it's very poppy. See how we have a couple tones now in the dotting? How's it working?
That's pretty neat. She's looking more
So my
dough-like.
goal is to do such an awesome makeup job on her that like some YouTubers, like I totally do the TheArtSherpa's Usha Deer tutorial as a full makeup. So YouTube challenge, I'll fully share it. You do have to let me know because like there's like a gazillion videos every second. So like, you know, email me something that you did it. But if you do makeup thing, let me know.
That'd be cool.
That would be the coolest thing ever.
And then
Moonsuki would be the perfect one. But you know, she's famous and stuff, so she might not do it.
At our next event, we should have some cosplay stuff, action happening.
Well, I'd like to get that stuff that does the modeling, you know.
Yeah.
I got so excited about.
So
I've added a little yellow to my white here, so it's not pure white, right? And you can even kind of come down the nose a bit. See how I'm doing? And then a little bit, just a smidge on the cheek there. Oh, she's so cool. Isn't she so cool?
She is.
She's so deer-like now. I'm worried that this is a little bit bright, so I'm going to come with just my Indian yellow and knock like that. See how like where it was just a little too bright, I can knock it back a bit?
Yeah.
If it's too bright and it just doesn't feel like... That's what I was going for. Okay. Now, in her eyes, it's going to be super interesting. So I'm going to go back to that shadow color that I had and get my glaze. And I'm going to take half of this eye with the glaze and put a shadow on it. We'll come back and put a highlight, but that will really, really help us later. I'm going to let that dry. Let's work out these lips, which I feel like have to be like really alizarin. I'll take my base skin tone and mix it in there, but I feel like it should be way more alizarin. So where this is super bright and dark, I'm going to come right here. I'm going to just put some color, and it's darker on the top lip and lighter on the bottom. But where the lips meet, right here, is in shadow, and that's important to know. Now I'm going to wipe off my brush on my towel just to pull some pigment out and get just my zinc. But you can see I have a lot of the mix from there. And I'm going to make sure that this bottom lip is definitely more tinted. If I need a little more of that, I'll get it. See how it's just lighter overall? And that's just because it's pulled out, you know, from the face. Now I've rinsed out. I'm going to get some just pure pigment loaded up. And right here at the center of the lip, I'm going to tap that out under where the ball of the lip is and pull it into the center. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to get my titanium white. I haven't rinsed my brush though. And I'm going to make sure to highlight right there. And a little bit right here. We're just highlighting that lip. I'm going to rinse off, and I'm going to get some white, but it's got a little of that pink on there. Can you see how there's a little pink?
Yeah.
I'm going to come to the top of the lip, and in the bow, I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to come in my nose and highlight across a couple places. And then just a little bit below that eye right there. And just tapping that down just a smidge.
So it's so funny. Barbara and Dee Dee have, so Barbara brought up, she was like, this reminds me of that sci-fi TV show where the spaceship crashed, they turned into slaves, and one of the citizens becomes this cop, and then Dee
You mean
Dee's like,
Alienation?
yeah, Dee Dee's like, you mean Alienation? And I was like thinking, oh my god,
We're your people. Come on in. We all get Alienation here. Everybody marathons it here.
Yeah, you definitely draw influence from that show.
Oh my goodness. All the time. All the time. I love that Sykes means poop and is a name. I'm never going to get over that. I think that's the best thing ever. All right, so I've got my dark color again, and I'm going to do a little bit of a brow, but what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do the whole brow. It's just going to be the front here. See there? It's not going to go all the way back. Just this, so I'm taking this first kind of dark color, and then I'll get my blue in that mix to make some little crease colors. We've just got to finish out the eyes, guys. So I'm going to just make sure that I've got a nice little lid, because our eyes are, I'm going to shade that around. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
Shading that around. Let me get a little bit of that. Definitely going to shade that around. Now we're going to have to do an interesting thing here where we put the highlights right there, because I'll come back with my zinc right now and just very carefully right here add a little bit of one. Even if it's still right here, I'm going to add a little bit of one right here. I'm going to not rinse my brush. I'm going to get some just titanium.
I think that there's a mystical, magical power when the Sherpa is on that causes all Mendi to return to anyone who's ever had it, so that during Sherpa time, no housework is required.
Oh, absolutely.
Cecile was just saying that her Mendi has faded, so she has to go back and do housework.
No.
I think there's magical...
Mendi skin extension, no housework.
We have...
Whatever you do, avoid the laundry room. No good can come of it.
No.
No good can come of what's in the laundry room. No. There's no good information in there that you need.
Can't there be like bracers of power that deflect work like bullets that like Superwoman wears? Ping, ping!
We're the worst. So I'm going to go ahead and get that blue really dark into my brown over here. And I'm going to make sure that I come up with another second sort of little layer for the sort of brow that she would have here, because she's deer. So it can't be like through the whole thing. And every time that you can sort of, I'm going to come along and outline a little bit the ears.
This is interesting. Prakesha says that Mendi is more celebratory and can be worn anytime for any reason, not just for weddings.
And it gets you out of housework. Why does anyone ever go around without it?
I think that the housework tradition is just supposed to be for weddings, but we could say it's for painting kind.
And if you elect me class president, I promise to make the no housework rule of Mendi apply year round.
Whitney's like, did you ever watch Farscape?
Yeah, a couple of times. A little bit. We might have liked it a little bit.
Yes, and just so you know, when I was living in China, I watched all of Voyager. All of it.
Again and again and again.
It was like one of my favorite Trek series.
So I'm going to take my alizarin and I'm going to add it into my base skin tone. I'm going to add a little white to this so that it's quite light. Right? But it's still got the pink in it, and I'm going to come on the inside of the eye just a little bit. Now here I have a couple of choices, right guys? I'm just coming along this like a little bit. In that I can Got to thin it out. It's not thin enough, so it's not blending the way it needs to. I could do the whole eye black. That would be very like a doe. But I feel like then we lose some of the humanism in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just slightly bigger, beautiful brown eyes. So I'm going to take the browns together. And I might grab a little of the blue again. And I may need to switch to my smaller brushes. We'll see how this goes. Right? And so I'm going to say if this is here, then this needs to be here. Because we don't want it to be like she's looking at us but like cross-eyed. So that's going to be my big thing to avoid. You may want to see how it goes for me before you put it in. Because the eyes should be on rails and be in the same positioning.
Kind of like your ears and horns.
Kind of like your ears and horns.
They've got to be
When they
proportionately
don't,
matchy.
when they aren't and they don't, then it just confuses everybody. So I'm going to shade the top half of the eye pretty dark, as you can see. How are we doing on our makeup? Does it look deerish yet?
It does.
I'm just making sure that this is nice and shadowed. Like I can even come here and enforce this just a little bit in the shadow. See how we're doing? Where that shadow starts to give her eye like that shape that we're looking for. I have to sip some more things. I'm actually kind of into her. Who's into her?
We're at 57 minutes.
Are we really?
We really are.
Man, we are on point today.
We're doing this. She's not really good.
She's so pretty. She's
Turning out
so
fun now.
pretty.
So are we gonna break here? And
No,
then
we have to finish these eyes. These
Okay.
aren't done. These aren't even close to done.
Well, that's,
darling.
I don't know. I'm not a painter.
I'm gonna take my
have a
burnt
button
sienna
pusher.
into my burnt sienna into my Indian yellow. I'm gonna get some of my zinc into this.
Push your buttons
What buttons?
to make you upset.
Oh no, sweetie, I'm fine.
I'm just teasing.
Oh. Now, if there's light right here on the eye, I'm going to tap in some light right here, coming around this outer edge, just tapping it in. See how we're doing? Then there's light right here.
Wow. I'm just without words of how this is coming together because she looks just ever so slightly fuzzy furry when you did the shadow with a little bit of the.
Yeah.
It just turned out so cool.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
I may, for this next part, which I didn't grab any, so ignore the fact that I'm going off camera.
Where'd you go?
I don't like, and in a couple spaces, I'm going to use a little black into it. Just a smidge into our little mix here. Just because when I come in and I get into the pupil here, we want just a small amount. And then I'm going to just darken this just a bit. This is just a hair thin line. You know. We're being very, very, very delicate with this. Just very, very delicate. I'm going to get right into this brown, dark color. Going to make sure that it's coming around a little bit into the eye here. Now I think I'm going to get back into my teeny tiny detail. This is where I'm going to have to work now. So I'm going to get my yellow. Make sure there's no icky pigment in my small detail. Not that any pigment's actually icky, but I just want to get some very, very bright, light little flecks in here. I'm just going to work her eyes a little bit to make sure that we can really see. I know we get a little Margaret Keane with this on occasion, but that's what we do, man. I'm going to get my zinc. And I might get just a little of that kind of off color into the zinc. I want it to be bright but not perfectly white, so that when I come back with the titanium, it's like bazam. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a couple little...
There they are. Bazam.
Word highlights, right? Which is like this sort of like 3-dot highlight that she had in her eye. But to make those feel like amazing, I'm going to get my pure zinc onto the tip of this brush. I'm going to make sure that there's a little bit of that there. I'm also going to come on the outside of the eye and the inside of the eye. You guys see how we've made the eye seem very wet?
Mononoke Hame.
Yep. Oh my gosh. She is so awesome now. I like her.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's how we do. Yeah, that's just like a free lesson that we totally do.
Yeah.
Like that's no biggie.
This is part 1 of 3. This
Three.
Is part 3
This
of
is part 3. We've got 4.
Maybe 5.
4 may go a little bit long, so I want to really work in the antlers and the fabric and the plants in front of her. But this part, which is our, our slow down part, we have to slow down sometimes and focus on these facial features.
As
and
the
so it's
pandas
really
say.
nice to be able to do that.
Slow down.
We're working too fast. Oh, she's so dewy
So
in her
good.
eye. I just love her. Who loves her? Who loves her?
Me. I'm looking forward to this one hanging around.
And she's not even the one that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till we get there. So they're all going to be like this, and they will all expand out and do this. I'll make sure I get a picture of her at this stage, because we're going to have a step, 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 step. And so when we're all entirely done, we'll do an updated traceable. So, if you need that, that will be coming when we're all finished, so I can get all the little details in that you guys need.
This is
This is so exciting. So be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. For goodness sakes, get that mending on and don't do any housework for any reason. Avoid the laundry room at all costs. And I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.